In today's episode, we will be shining a light on a success story of one of our very own members inside the Dropship Unlocked Masterclass. Today, we're sharing the story of Neil. Now, Neil has joined and started his e-commerce journey not very long ago, but his success is incredible to see in such a short space of time. So again, this is one of these amazing episodes where we love to bring you real life success stories. So if you are wondering what it would be like to join and create your own e-commerce business, and you can get it straight from somebody who's just done that exact action very recently. So you won't want to miss this episode.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. It's going to be a great chat with one of our valued members, Neil. A really inspiring story as well to share how he began his journey, how it wasn't actually him that even discovered this journey and Dropship Unlocked, and also just a little bit more about Neil's progress since joining us and how much action he's taken along the way. So it's going to be a great episode today. I think you'll really enjoy it and get a lot of value from it.
Yes, there's always so many insights that you can pull out of these interviews with people who have just taken this journey a few months ago. By taking the advice from somebody who's literally just taken those actions to build a business, is so fresh in their minds. So there's tons of insights throughout this conversation. You know, the way that Neil approaches building his business, the way he approached starting in the first place, lots that we can take away from this episode today.
Yep, it's the full A to Z of taking us from Neil's initial uncertainty, his skepticism, right through to his success and the number of sales that he's making now. Some of the key strategies he's implemented along the way, and most importantly, how our community has helped him at some of those challenges along his journey so far. So this episode is going to be packed with really valuable lessons and insights. So get a pen and paper ready, or just tune in and get ready to absorb some value as we dive into the interview now with Neil. Welcome to the Dropship Unlocked podcast. I'm Lewis Smith, the founder of Dropship Unlocked, and with me today is our client success coach, James Eardley. When we're not recording podcast episodes or running our own e-commerce businesses, you'll find us helping aspiring entrepreneurs launch their own high-ticket dropshipping stores. If you're ready to build your own 6 or even 7-figure online business, head over to dropshipunlocked.com/accelerator and sign up for your 14-day trial. Inside the accelerator, you'll gain access to exclusive training, live coaching calls, and a thriving community of like-minded entrepreneurs. Plus, when you join today, you'll also get a free copy of my book, The Home Turf Advantage. Now, sit back, relax, and let's unlock your potential with the Dropship Unlocked podcast. Firstly, Neil, could you take us back to before you joined the Dropship Unlocked program? What was life like before you decided to start your own business, and what were you doing?
Well, I'm in a career job, so I've been in it now 38 years, so coming towards the end of that career. And it was about 18 months ago, I would say, roughly. And it was my son, to be fair, he introduced me to Dropship Unlocked. Saw you advertising on YouTube and put the idea in my head, And then I moved on a few months, I guess, into 3 or 4 months later. I decided to do some research myself just to make sure what I was, potentially, signing up for. And that's what I did. And so I'm still in the career job, and my intention is at some point to leave that career job and focus on the business,
It was your son that found the advert then. And what did he say to you when he first stumbled across one of our ads and brought it to you? What was the context? Had you heard of dropshipping before as a concept, as a business model?
No, I hadn't. Not at all. E-commerce, yes, I had, but not specifically dropshipping. So he's thinking back, he was saying, let's start a business, Dad, So, well, if it was that easy, everyone would do it, So it's like, I went, we talked about it a bit, and then he focused on his exams, and I, in the background, started doing my research, and I could just go off reviews and, what I could see, without being inside the community, obviously, at that point, and decided eventually, and I'm sure we'll come on to that, decided eventually to take the plunge and invest, if you like. Yeah.
Fantastic. No, it's a brilliant story. I remember being very excited when you told me this story for the day when you were going to tell your son, which has happened now. And, he's helped you out along with the journey as well. So we can get to that as well in this conversation. But firstly, Neil, obviously a big decision to decide to start your business. You've been in that career for a while. What was your ideal outcome? What was the real driving force behind wanting to start an e-commerce business in the first place?
Developing myself, really, because I'd been in that, one of the reasons, one of a few, I guess, but, because I'd been in that career job for so long. I developed within the career job, of course, over time. It's a long time, technology moves on, and I was intrigued. But my ultimate goal, being where I am in my career, corporate job, is to retire, if you like, retire early, and then focus on the business for then however long I decide to do that, really.
Fantastic. So the building a business was so that you could eventually get to retirement earlier, and so you could bring forward that date of retirement. So it's a great goal to have in mind, and bring in another income stream to help you to do that. But why do you think it was specifically e-commerce that you decided to be your vehicle to growing a business to retire earlier?
I didn't really want to go into if you like, more traditional type. I would have stayed, and I'd reasonably happy with where I am, in the corporate world, if you like. But I didn't really want to. I couldn't afford to retire that early, so I decided to. I needed something, and to be honest, I'd have probably just stayed in the status quo, and just carried on working until I was into my 60s, and which I'm not quite yet, and then then retire, in the normal manner with a pension. If it wasn't for my son introducing me to it, I probably wouldn't have taken this on board. So in the last 18 months, I've learned a lot.
Yeah, it's fascinating to hear about how your journey started out. What would you say then? Because you said that you knew of e-commerce as a concept. Maybe you didn't know dropshipping as the specific model that we use, but you knew about e-commerce. So what would you say was the biggest hurdle you were dealing with, or even would have dealt with in trying to start your own e-commerce business? If that was something you thought, yeah, I'm going to do this, but maybe your son hadn't introduced you to Dropship Unlocked, what do you think you may have struggled with?
Finding the content to do that, because no doubt it's all available online on YouTube and so on. But it's finding the finding the content, and now I know what's involved. Things like Google Ads, setting up your own store, creating your own store, finding suppliers, all that type of thing. All that would have been a lot more difficult without some sort of program to get involved with, really. And I probably wouldn't have done it. I probably wouldn't have taken that step without a program to follow, in a structured sort of way, really.
Yeah, I can resonate with you, Neil. I know when I started, I saw initially some content that is out there in the big wide web and the YouTube that seems to go on forever with all the different pieces of information that you can get bombarded with. But there is something to be said about having a bit of a structure behind all of that content. So I guess, was there a moment where you decided, look, I'm going to go for this, but I really want to have the structure? And was there a moment where you decided, right, I'm going to go all in, I'm going to go with Dropship Unlocked, and I'm going to make this work? Do you remember there being a moment where, a pivotal moment, you realised that was going to be your move?
Yeah, because I spoke with one of your colleagues, your team, and he was very good. He was very good, and told me what to expect. I'd done my research by that point. This is now moving on to 11 months ago, and it's at that point I decided it's quite a big. And thinking back 11 months now, it's strange how things move on. Thinking back 11 months, it was quite an investment, and I don't regret it in one bit, of course. But it was at the time thinking, will this work? Is it right for me? And and that was it, really. Having that chat with one of your team, and having had done my research, and at that point, I decided to sign up to the course. Yeah,
you went for it and took the leap. Yeah, and we're very glad you did, and we're excited to share more about the journey that's happened in that time frame. But since starting the program, what would you say has been the most surprising or impactful change for you so far, Neil?
I would say it's probably getting involved in this completely new industry that I'm in now with my niche, something I knew nothing about. And, I did the early parts of the course, and that is probably, as far as the business goes, and we'll talk about the community side of it in a bit, but as far as the business goes, it's definitely getting to know how the logistics work and how Google Ads work, and there's no one thing really, I would say, but it's just the whole package, just knowing how it works, or how the industry in my niche works really.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I think a lot of people have that concern about, okay, I'm going to pick a group of products to sell. I'm going to pick a niche that's based on certain criteria to build my new business around. But how could I possibly do that? I'm not an expert in that industry. I'm not an expert in that market. That was obviously your thinking to an extent beforehand, but how's that changed, and what have you realized since going into a new industry about how quickly you can adapt and make it work?
But if you get good suppliers, and I've got one good supplier which I'm selling most of my products from at the moment, and they've been very supportive, and they've guided me in a way, just one of their traders essentially, but they've guided me, and I've met them face to face, and I think that's quite important. I initially met them at a trade show, so that I always think you can only do so much online. Online's fine, but I think until you meet people face to face and have a good chat with them, they get to know you then, So yeah, so it was I think guidance from them, and also from a logistics company that I've been dealing with as well. Again, that was all new to me. So it's just having this. It's just knowing the people to speak to within these organisations that can support you on your journey, as well as the masterclass can as well.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, once you get into a niche, suddenly you're introduced to all these suppliers, and what I found certainly is that there's so much help from the people that you partner with. If you need to ask about their products, you can quickly become more knowledgeable about their product range and how their business runs. They can give you some real insights, because obviously they're incentivized for you to understand how best to run the business, because the more sales that you generate, the more sales you'll make for them as well. So no, it's a very fascinating insight there, Neil. Now, going through this journey then, when you joined up with Dropship Unlocked, firstly, just remind me, Neil, how long have you been with your company for, that you're with still today?
Just over 38 years. Yeah, 38 and a half years, pretty well now, yeah.
So it's a new industry after 38 and a half years with that company. So taking on a new challenge, which I admire massively. And as you went through the program and you started to lay the foundations for your business, what did you find most helpful? And could you tell us a little bit about how you found that process of going from complete beginner through to having a store built?
But once you've done it, you think, gosh, it's something that I'd never done before. And so from that step on, finding my niche, and, how you go through the program with regard to the research side of things, and deciding what niche you're going to go with, initially, and how wide, whether you're going to be specific on products or whether go into a wider niche. I decided to go into a wider niche. Within the niche I'd chosen, I had a trade show coming up, so I was fairly quick in deciding, and it's working so far, so that's good. Building in the minimum viable store, MVS. Now I've had a little bit of experience of a website building before, using software rather than coding myself, but and Shopify is a great tool. I mean, that's one thing I found. There's some great tools to help you along the way. With apps, Shopify, it's a great tool to use, and for finding suppliers, and that because I had a trade show to attend. Now, along each stage of the journey, some people find things more difficult than others. I actually found talking to people at trade shows and stuff, and getting them on board. So I've done it again before I went to the trade show. This is the key bit always, I think, is doing the research. So, of the, I don't know how many there were, 100 plus traders there, I picked, the top dozen, if you like, to go and approach, again, early on day one of the show, because it's about a 4-day show. And, so they're fresh, and that, you get in there early, and that was them to work. and then moving on to Google Ads and going live. I'm still learning about Google Ads. So it's still an ongoing journey. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's always an ongoing journey with business. I think this is something you come to learn, isn't it? You're always learning. If you ever stopped learning, something's wrong and you're going to plateau. So it's always continuous growth. But you're someone who clearly does their research, Neil, from what you've said. You mentioned about researching your niche, researching the program, making a very informed decision after doing a lot of due diligence, looking into things. You didn't just make an impulse decision to join us. And there are many cheap, dropshipping e-commerce courses out there. We've all seen them on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, and these flashy people sitting in front of their sports cars on their mansions trying to lure you in with this amazing, guru lifestyle that they talk about. What made you feel that Dropship Unlocked was different in terms of the mentorship aspect and what we do, where we work directly with you on the coaching calls? What made you feel that was worth the extra investment for you?
Well, before I got into the community, I unlocked that door to the community. Of course, you're never 100% sure. You can only be as sure as you can be. I'd heard, through my research, I'd heard of, the China model and stuff, and the cheaper products. So I wanted a UK-based program as well. A lot of them, they still have good content and stuff. Free content and stuff you can view. But as far as the program goes, I wanted something UK-based, and I want the mentorship side of things. Having spoken to the team members sort of 11 months ago, he was guiding me with how this works, and we'll come on to more of that. But it was really the UK-based side of things, and the fact that it was a mentorship type program, so they didn't just feed you the information and say crack on with it. It was actually a two-way thing, which was good. And that's really my motive, for joining Dropship Unlocked.
Yeah, fantastic. So I can resonate with you in terms of feeling like I needed some sort of or community, not just thinking about the training program itself. So being aware that the community is a large aspect of the masterclass. So within the community, we do have the live calls. And I know, Neil, you're a regular member on the live calls, and it's always a pleasure to speak with you whenever you've got questions or if you're any support requests while you're building your business. What do you think about those live Q&A calls, and how do they impact you as you're building a business?
Twice weekly normally, and the community calls as well. I find they're good because it opens us out to the wider group as well, which is good. And I find I joined the sort of about 11 months ago. The first month or two, you listen in, and I wasn't really that vocal on the calls, or the community, to be honest, and I've put that right since. But it's amazing how much you learn in those early weeks, early months. And I found the real benefit of the calls was later in the program, because of course you've got all the masterclass information to hand, so you follow that. Things do change, obviously, but certainly with things like Google Ads, they do change it quite often, and that's where you need to keep up to date with things, and that's perhaps where you need to go into one of these calls, either to listen in to see if who else is asking a similar stage in the program than as you are, and asking a question that you think, that's a good question to ask. I wish I'd have thought of that one, or indeed ask a question yourself. And I find it's week 5 of the Google Ads thing, which is quite a complex thing to get your head around. Is the time, and really, because I built the store, okay, tweaking that, still tweaking it, but it was the Google Ads, and it still is aspect of things, and getting that right. That's when I really needed the benefit of the twice weekly calls, Q&A calls. Yeah,
brilliant. Yeah, and I know something that we really pride ourselves on at Dropship Unlocked is having the most calls of any other program like ourselves in the industry. We've got twice weekly Q&A calls. We've got the collaboration call with the community that you mentioned. We have our live expert sessions that we do. We've got our member store spotlight calls where we look and help diagnose problems on people's stores. So I'm glad that you're getting a lot of benefit from that side of things. But one of the really unique aspects of Dropship Unlocked is our in-person meetups that we do every quarter, where we bring the community together in person. I know you've attended all of those so far. How has meeting other members face-to-face in person and connecting with the community in real life impacted your journey so far, Neil?
Funny enough, actually, I missed, I think it was the first one. I think you had the first one. And I remember probably the first post I ever saw was tickets sold out for the event. So that first event, nearly 12 months ago now, I missed. I've attended the others since, and I've got another one coming up soon, which will be good. And they're brilliant. You know, it's just meeting like-minded people, and everyone's really nice. It's similar to what I was talking about, meeting the suppliers. You could, you got the community and text, and you may have a bit of a close connection with some people, but personal messaging them. But there's nothing better than meeting face to face, and the 4 or 5 hours that we meet on those face to face events they just fly by, But it's great to get to know people's journeys, really, where they're at in the journey, and everybody's got a different story to tell. And they're long may they continue.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, long-lasting friendships are made at these in-person events, and I find it just really brings everything to life. Obviously, going out on this new venture, Neil, that you push yourself into after being in a long career, and suddenly you want to find people that are in the same position, because we've got lots of people inside the program who are similar to you, Neil, where they've got a 9-to-5 job in the corporate world that they've been in for a long time. So do you find that that's been one of the best things? Would you say that getting in person, obviously the calls and the community is one thing, but getting in person, it sort of brings it to life, doesn't it, Neil? Would you say that's been one of the best things that you like about the program?
I mean, it has. That is, it's a social event, so you can get people's ideas and stuff during those events, but it's really the social side of it, rather than, if you like, you want to separate business and social. The business side of it is the community, I guess, and the masterclass and the Q&A, and learning that, and there is a community element around that as well. But the social side is important in any business. My career, if you work remotely in whatever job, it's good to get to meet people face to face, definitely, and especially when you go to something new like this. Whether it be you guys or your team, getting to know your team, or indeed other members of the community, and that changes, as people leave, new people join. That's what keeps it fresh as well. It's because you see new people all the time joining, and they've all got a story to tell. That makes it very interesting,
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that you're also a valued member of our Inner Circle mastermind as well. So before those live quarterly meetups that we have with all of the wider community, we also spend a day together in a room with a close-knit mastermind community, really honing into the areas of your business that you can optimize. But I want to go back in time a little bit, if we can, to from where we are now, right back to where you first made your first sale. So tell us a little bit about that, if you can. How long after launching your site or after launching ads did it take before your first sale came in?
I've been in the community about 5 months, 6 months, 5.5 months before I launched ads. So I built everything up to that point. And it's one thing you teach in the community is don't dabble, move on. And that's the thing, you can try and build a store that's the best one out there, but that's not the idea to start with. As long as you've got something that will make sales, that's important. I think an important message. That's one of the important things I've picked up on. I'd already made a couple of organic sales or so without ads to that point in April of that year, but then I launched in the May, and probably 2 weeks I made my first sale. From now, it's 5 months ago.
Fantastic. And so at that moment, when that first sale came in, firstly, do you remember how much it was for?
I don't, but how much was it for? About £800, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So an £800 sale for your first order. Where were you when that sale came through? Can you remember where you were, and what were you doing? Talk us through the moment when that first sale comes in. What does it feel like?
Yeah. Now, the Shopify Kaching, which is quite famous, I don't know whether I heard it on that first sale, to be honest, but I've heard it many times since. And I do, but whether I heard it through the ka-ching, because I remember I mentioned my son, because he was doing his revising exams, he didn't know anything about the business at that point, so he was wondering what these ka-ching noises were. So I was playing it down a bit, but it was a great feeling inside, to think that this actually works, Still a long way to go, that's my first sale of hopefully many, many more, but it's proof that my products were in demand, I suppose, at least by somebody, not by at least one person in the UK, and it was a great feeling, yeah. It was a case of, well, what do I do now, panic, but
Yeah. No, I know the feeling. I mean, initially it's that proof of concept, that that excitement that what you've done, that work you put in has led to somebody purchasing a product from your website. And then it's like, okay, right, now we've actually got to get the product to the customer. And then, that's the next thing. But so it's been about 5 months, you said, from that first sale. And so since then, Neil, over the last 5 months from getting that first sale, what are your total orders or total sales to date today?
Revenue-wise, £95,000. Yeah. So just hit the 95k mark yesterday within a couple of sales. And the good thing about e-commerce is, unlike a bricks and mortar shop, you can take sales 24 hours a day, even in this country, with people having their different lives. And I took a sale at about 5 past midnight this morning. So, a small sale, but, sales are sale, as they say.
Exactly, yeah. It always surprises me when you get sales coming in the small hours of the night. But if that's when people do their shopping, I'm not going to complain if that's when they want to purchase something off the site. But it's very fast moving, this, Neil. I know, because we spoke yesterday and even a few weeks before that, and you were at the 85k mark, and then you got to the 90k mark, which is the VAT threshold. And then today, with a few more sale yesterday, you've got through to 95k. So very fast growing, Neil. I've got no doubt this trend is going to continue. So when you think back, or when you reflect and look at the success you've had over this since joining, do you give yourself a minute to sort of reflect on how far you've come with that level of sales and that amount of work that you've done so far?
Yeah, I do. Quite often I think, 12 months ago, I hadn't even started this, I knew about dropshipping by that point, but I hadn't signed up. So yeah, 12 months is quite a short time period, to build any business, So it's, feel like I've progressed well, bear in mind I've got a sort of a 9-to-5 job, flexible job, but it's a full-time job. So all other life priorities, it's pleased with my progress so far.
Yeah, so you should be, and you're clearly on a very fast upward trajectory with this business. It's funny, isn't it, how things start, and you said you made that first sale and then you thought, what do I do now? And then suddenly, before you know it, you're basically at £100,000, 95,000 as of yesterday, and I'm sure you'll surpass that 100,000 in the next couple of days probably. So you are right to give yourself a moment. And I know that you're doing this for your son as well, to bring your son in on this venture, but also you mentioned that you're getting close to retirement, and so working that full-time job until you are at the point where you want to take that retirement. I mean, this is a really nice additional income now and a project that you've set yourself up for. So I just want to look ahead for a moment, Neil, and ask, how do you think the success of your e-commerce business will change things for you in your everyday life going into the future?
It may make things more comfortable, essentially. Enable me to do things perhaps I wouldn't have done before. I'll have a pension and everything. Obviously, if I leave a little bit earlier than I would have done without this, I'll have less of a pension. But then I'll top it up with hopefully a decent income from the dropshipping business. So that's my intention, and yeah, it'll enable me to not to go mad, but at least have, do things that perhaps before I'd have had to save up for, do, now I'll be, hopefully the intention is to just say, well, yeah, I've got this extra income now. You don't have to think about, a month in Australia or something, whatever it might be.
It's that extra freedom. It's all tied into the ideal outcome that you sort of described earlier on in the episode, which is about bringing that retirement date forward, giving yourself a chance to, see more of the world, I guess, at an earlier stage rather than waiting for that retirement date. So very exciting, and you are well on your way towards that, Neil. And of course, throughout this whole journey, there will have been plenty of challenges that will have popped up throughout building a business, as with any business. So tell us a little bit about some of the challenges, and perhaps tell us how Dropship Unlocked was able to help you through some of the challenges that you faced as well.
The biggest challenge as part of the program goes and this is where your advice has been really good, and where the inner circle engagement has been really good, is around Google Ads, because there's so much in that, to understand, so you're spending quite a bit on Google Ads, healthy profit in return to pay for the ads, make a profit, and also all the other things you need to sort of pay accountants and so on as part of the business.
Yeah, some of the fairly minor overheads, I guess, in comparison to what would be a much more expensive brick and mortar style business if you decided to set up. But yeah, relatively low compared to those. But still, you will have overheads like a business. So anyone coming into this needs to be aware of that. And like you say, the name of the game is making more in profit on a sale than you spend to acquire that customer. And what makes that a lot easier with our Home Tech Advantage model is obviously the level of profit that you make on every sale that you make. If you're selling a product at £2,000 and making £600 in profit, you don't have to be an expert with ads to make that work, because you can spend £100, £200 on making that sale with ads and still make a nice profit. So it takes the pressure off a little bit, I think, for people who haven't experienced running ads before. But I'd like to understand a bit about your experience with the community, Neil, because you're a very vocal, very valued member of our community. In fact, you're now at level 7. So you got the exclusive invite recently to our coveted level 7 members dinner, which we hosted at a nice Michelin star restaurant with all of our level 7 community members, which was really fun, really nice evening. But you're always so present in there. You give so much value to it, and I hope you get a lot of value from it in return. What would you say is the most valuable part of being in that Dropship Unlocked community for you, Neil?
Just go to the dinner. No, that was a great night out. Yeah, really thoroughly enjoyed that. And when I first signed up to this, I mentioned previously that it was a bit quieter the first couple of months as getting to know how it all works and just getting into the flow. But it was a conscious decision of mine to get fully involved, because I felt that if I got fully involved with the community, I'd get the most benefit out of it for myself. Plus, I hope you guys agree that I give plenty back as well, as well as receiving plenty. But yeah, so I try and make all my posts extremely complimentary, where there's somebody's posted a win, a good win, or indeed. And this is where, after those first couple of months, you start building the experience. So if somebody asks a more technical question, if I'm there to advise as best I can on those as well now, to a degree. So yeah, that's really it for me, is to fully involve myself with the community, because without that, it would be completely different. Dropship Unlocked would be completely different, even with the Q&A calls and stuff. It would and the face-to-face meetup. So if you didn't have that community side of it, it would make it a completely different experience. So I advise anybody to make the most of the community and get fully involved. But at the same time, give post good content. So it's not just a chat room. It's to there's a place for that. It's a place to give support and advice as well. So, yeah, get fully involved and you get the most out of it.
Completely agree. Yeah, as with most things, the more you put in, the more you get out. But it's certainly true with community, because when people see that you're leading with so much value, as you do, Neil, you end up getting so much more in return when people are sort of climbing over each other to help you out when you share your success or you have questions yourself. So very true. And it's the live aspect that I love so much about Dropship Unlocked myself personally. Is not obviously the content is the structure that helps everyone get through the program and build businesses, but it's the fact that it's live and you can get on so well with people within the community that it is the part that makes it enjoyable. So it's not just a case of one step after the next. It's actually enjoying the process the whole time. Were you aware of this, Neil, before you started the community aspect? Did you get an idea of what it was you were joining, or did you join initially for the program content? And was the community a bit more of a bonus?
Community was a bonus, I suppose. Yeah. I mean, I knew nothing about the in-person events until that first post I saw where the tickets had sold out for that first event. And then I don't think you had any more planned in after that, but obviously that one went quite well. And so you've had others since, and more coming. But yeah, I wasn't aware. No, I wasn't really aware of that community side of it. I joined for really the content, and when I had a word with one of your colleagues, he really talked through more the content and the videos and the masterclass rather than the community. So yeah, it's been a good bonus because I will, I'm sure, already have made one or two good friends within that community that last a long time, I'm hoping. So that's good.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, there's so many. I mean, yeah, the friendships are real. It's been great to get to know you, Neil, at these in-person events. Whether it's the dinners, whether it's the actual evening events that we have with the masterclass, or the inner circle daytime events. It's just good to actually get to know the people behind the names in the community. Makes such a difference to understand the real reasons why we're all building these same businesses. So before you joined and you first heard about it from your son, were you initially skeptical about starting dropshipping or joining the masterclass? Do you remember having those thoughts, or were you quite sold on it by your son quite quickly?
I wasn't sold on it at all, really. Going back 18 months from now, yeah, I was a skeptic, I have to admit. It's one of those where you think if it was that easy, everyone would do it. But of course, to build any successful business, it isn't that easy, But like we mentioned, you put the work in, you get the rewards, So I was a skeptic. That soon passed when I joined, of course, or before I joined, really. Because once I decided to join, I thought, well, that's it, Press the button now, and I'm, flick the switch. Going to make the most of it now, and haven't looked back since, obviously, but yes, yeah, because you do see lots of content, don't you, on YouTube about how well everybody's doing, and their massive houses and massive cars, and and I'm sure you won't mind me saying that one of the first things I remember from that module 1, week 1 video was when you say, if you're here to get rich quick, you're in the wrong program, because you've got to put the hard work in to get the rewards out, So I was skeptical, but yeah. So just being honest there.
Yeah. I think you have to be, and in this day and age, with the amount of noise and stuff that's online, you have to be skeptical. But I think the important thing that I heard there, Neil, is that you overcame the skepticism, and once you were in, you were all in. I think that the challenge is you might end up skeptical about something and then kind of dip one toe in and be like, oh, I'm still kind of skeptical, but I'm going to have a go. And obviously what happens then is you get no results because you were never committed in the first place. And business isn't easy. It can be simple. There can be a straightforward path, and you can ask at all the challenges that you get along the way. But anyone telling you it's going to be easy is just lying. So I think you're 100% right. You did it the right way. You came in with a healthy dose of skepticism, but then as you came in the door, you were like, right, that's behind me now. Eyes on the prize, move forward. And I think that's why you've done so well. So anyone listening to this who has that skepticism, don't feel bad about that. That's natural. But once you commit, once you're in, move ahead. Let's do it. And so looking towards the future now, what are you most excited about in your next phase of your e-commerce business journey, Neil?
Yeah, continuing to build the business, making enough profit so I can feel comfortable to move away from a job. And I feel if I move away from the job, my day-to-day job, my 9 to 5, if you like, I'll have that time then to really build. And that's sort of, my intention is to still be part of this community at that point, because if I am, I know, I can really accelerate things. That's in my my gut, if you like, my head. Yeah, I can really move on with this, and make a huge success of it. So that's my intention, is to remain part of the community for a good length of time, and within that period, at some point, I don't know exactly when yet, when things are right, to leave my 9 to 5, and then spend that extra time alongside relaxing and doing other stuff, but more time focusing on the business. Yeah.
Fantastic. And pulling the levers that will do the most good in terms of scaling up the revenue and scaling up the profit over time. And I think one of the biggest levers you're going to pull soon is probably going to be hiring your first virtual assistant to really, open up the amount of time you have to spend on the things that will really scale and make a big difference for your business. So things like hiring virtual assistants, etc. How do you see your business evolving now over the next months and years with Dropship Unlocked? How do you see that growth?
Virtual assistants, yeah, I've looked into that, but I haven't taken that plunge yet. But that will be fairly soon, I think. We've talked about this sort of uploading products maybe as a start, rather than taking calls and dealing with customers and stuff, perhaps. But it's letting go of the reins as well, isn't it? Because at the moment it's my baby, if you like, and it's not micromanaging it. It is making sure that you recruit the right people, and of course you've got to find the right people to recruit. Plenty of good people out there to do the virtual assistant job. Starting gradually, I think, starting gradually, let them take on some of the responsibility, and then build it up from there to a point where, you just enjoy the profits, basically. So it's that's the ultimate goal, I guess. I enjoy it though. So I guess where I'm at now. I mean, whether I'll feel like this in 2-3 years' time, I don't know. But whether I left the job and doing other things, but where I'm at now, I do enjoy speaking to suppliers and that type of thing. So I don't want to I feel like I don't want to offload it all, even though perhaps in the future I could. At the moment I'm feeling I want a bit of a handle on it myself. Whether that will change in the next 2 or 3 years, I have to wait and see.
Yeah, that's natural. And I think as things start to pick up and as sales really start to increase, which I feel like you're kind of experiencing the beginning of right now, for example, when you're on your month-long trip in Australia and it's the middle of the night, your time, and you've got customers calling you, I wonder whether your mind might change about wanting to step back a bit from the business. But I wanted to ask Neil, so if someone's listening to this episode right now and they're considering joining Dropship Unlocked, for example, but maybe they just haven't yet jumped in, what would you advise them to help them build up the courage to take that leap?
Hopefully, do I look like a trustworthy person? I think so. I've done the research for you, to be honest, proved it works. And it's a case of put the hard work in, and you'll reap the benefits. Yeah, and it's a good model. It's a good model. Yep.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. So something I want to dive into as well, Neil, that we've talked about earlier on in the conversation was about telling your son, and there being a point at which you broke the news to him, because of course earlier on he was the one that introduced you to Dropship Unlocked in the first place, kept it quiet while you were going through the build phase until you were at a point where you were ready to tell him and he had finished his exams. Tell us a bit about that moment when you told him. I'd like to hear about his feelings around you actually going for it after the initial seeds that he had planted earlier on.
He was surprised and pleased. I think he was quite pleased to do it. And he over his holidays, he had a bit of input into putting orders through and that type of thing. So he's had a bit of experience there. Back in exam season again, or study season again now. So it's always difficult, really. Still fairly young, so over time, I'll build it up, and then he'll his choice. He may or may not come on board, but it'll be there for him. So he's doing business studies at A level, so you never know.
There you go. He'll have a few tips and tricks that he picks up, no doubt, that he'll want to implement straight away and put the theory into practice with your business. So no, it's a fantastic story, and involving your family is lovely to hear, with building this business. So for somebody else that, if you could speak to somebody, maybe they're listening in the car or they're listening on their commute to work, and they're in the same position that you were, Neil, and we're in a corporate role, and they're on the edge of thinking about bringing retirement early, I guess. what would your advice be to them? If you wanted to, speak to yourself, I guess 12 months ago, what would your advice be to somebody about joining the program?
Yeah, give it a good go. Give it a good go. Now I know what I know. I wouldn't have hesitated. 18 months ago when I was thinking about it, I would say give it a good go. Ensure you've got a plan in place, because the weeks and months will just roll over if you're not careful. Don't sign up and then do nothing for 3 months. What I post to the community quite a bit, especially for those that are new to the community, is keep things moving, and don't get bogged down in a lot of it, so don't get obsessed with building a perfect store, for example. It's a case of keep moving on. But yeah, if you're thinking about it, it's a model that I've proven that works. Will be will see me, I'm sure, into the future. So
yeah, it's all about that momentum, isn't it? And keeping that momentum moving from day one, which you've done a fantastic job of, and you've been a perfect example, Neil, of someone who's done that. So we love how engaged you are, how much you bring to our community. I just want to say a big public thank you to you for all that you bring to Dropship Unlocked, how much support you give to other people in the community, and how well you're doing with your business. It's great to see. I think you're a credit to your son and your family, and I'd be very, very proud. So well done. Thank you. I can't wait to hang out with you at our next Mastermind in-person meetup, and also our members meetup soon. And officially, we'd love to welcome you back to the podcast once you, maybe, should we say when you hit 500,000 in sales, 500,000, we'll have you back. That seems like a good milestone that won't be too far away.
Next week then, yeah. I'll hold you to that. Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, I look forward to it.
Good. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks for joining us, Neil. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you very much.
Well, that was an inspiring conversation with Neil. I love hearing about members' journeys when they go from complete novice and beginner all the way through to where they are just a few months later, having put the real solid foundations and groundworks in and seeing success already for their business and really moving towards their e-commerce dreams that they've got from when they first joined.
Yeah, it's great to hear someone like Neil who's never heard of the term dropshipping before 18 months ago when his son first brought the concept to him, through to now running a successful e-commerce business. And just as of yesterday, I think he said, surpassing the £95,000 in sales mark. So really well done to Neil. Great story. And I'm sure that won't be the last we'll be hearing of Neil on the podcast either. And if Neil's story resonated with you and you're ready to begin your own e-commerce entrepreneurial journey, remember that every success starts with a single decision, just like it did for Neil.
That's right. Always comes down to a single step where you decide that I'm going to take this seriously, and you can follow in Neil's footsteps. And we make it very easy for you to start with a single step with Dropship Unlocked, as you can get started with the accelerator at a very low cost. And that is dropshipunlocked.com/accelerator.
Yep, the accelerator is a fantastic first place to start. If you want to take that first step, the investment to start is a £7 investment, whopping £7. And with that, you receive a free copy of my book, The Home Turf Advantage, and you get to join our supportive private community with hours of expert sessions and training modules to guide you through the way. You also get access to our 21-day challenge to get your business off the ground. So it really is the perfect way to get started on your e-commerce journey.
Are you enjoying the podcast? We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment or a review and we might feature it in an upcoming episode. And for detailed show notes and resources, visit dropshipunlocked.com/podcast.
If you found value in any episode of this podcast, please could you take just 10 seconds to leave us a quick 5-star review on your favorite podcast app? It helps us more than you can imagine. And who knows, you might just hear your comments read out on the show. Thanks for being a part of our community. Your support helps us keep delivering new episodes to you every week.
Now it's time to answer a question that we've had in from a listener of the podcast. And remember, if you have a question after listening to today's episode and you'd like to ask it to Lewis and I, all you need to do is type a comment beneath the YouTube video version of this episode. So not only will it be answered in the comments, but it may also be read out and answered on an upcoming episode. So that's exactly what Khalid has done. So his question, for which I'm going to ask to you now, Lewis, is how much money do I need to start dropshipping with the Home Turf Advantage model?
Yeah, thank you for your question, Khalid, and it's a really common one. We get that a lot. So first thing is starting a dropshipping business requires a lot less capital and investment than traditional retail models, as you'll know. So the ongoing costs with this are minimal compared to starting a bricks and mortar business. You've only got things like Shopify, your subscription to Shopify, Google Workspace, so you get a professional domain and an email, a business phone line, probably £10-15 a month, something like that. Canva, maybe for editing a few images, you might want a subscription to that for a month or so, and a few other apps here and there. But in total, it's going to be less than, say, £50 to £100 in overheads to get you started. It's also wise to set aside some funds for your advertising campaign when you get to that point. Having a few £100 at least set aside as your budget will help you start to make your first sales. Now, we don't advise running ads or spending ads until you have your first few suppliers signed, because we want to maximize the chance of you making your first few sales with that initial ad spend, so that the profit you then accrue from those first few sales can then be reinvested back into advertising. So that budget should help you with your first few weeks of ads. And within that point, if you followed the process, you'll be making sales and can start to reinvest some of those profits into more ads and scaling up your business as well. So in terms of the investment to work with us, there's a wide range of things we offer. We've got everything from our £7 accelerator, which you can access by going to dropshipunlocked.com/accelerator for a 14-day £7 trial to that, all the way up to our full mentorship program, even our in-person masterclass as well. So a wide range. For more details, you can check out an episode of the podcast that we did, which was conveniently titled, "How Much Money Do You Need to Start Dropshipping?" And that was episode 30 of the podcast.
There you go. Yeah, great question. Very common one that we hear, and did a great job of answering that there, Lewis. And there is an episode dedicated to it as well. Okay, so we're now going to highlight a recent review that we've had for the podcast as well, because we love to give a shout out to you when you leave us a review for the podcast. So a big thank you to Nick Greaves for sharing your thoughts. So Nick Greaves said, "This is just what I needed."
Man, a few words, but powerful words there. Thank you for your review, Nick. We really appreciate it. We're glad to hear that you've been enjoying the podcast and that it's just what you needed. If you're listening to us right now, before we end this episode, could we ask a small favor? Leaving us a review for this podcast helps us a lot, and it takes you just a few seconds, but your support keeps us motivated and keep bringing you the best content every single week. We'd love to hear what you think and share your review in an upcoming episode, so please do leave us a review if you haven't already.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Dropship Unlocked podcast. We hope you are leaving with new insights and inspiration to fuel your entrepreneurial journey.
Now, if you're looking to kickstart or even accelerate your e-commerce business, head over to dropshipunlocked.com/accelerator and sign up for your 14-day trial of the Dropship Unlocked Accelerator. Not only will you receive a free copy of my book, The Home Turf Advantage, but you'll also get access to exclusive training, live coaching calls, and our supportive and amazing community of entrepreneurs who are all building successful businesses just like you.
And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more episodes packed with strategies, tips, and success stories. Plus, if you enjoyed this episode today, a 5-star review would mean the world to us, and you might even get a shout out on the next episode.
Thank you for choosing to spend your time with us today. We can't wait to bring you more insights on the next episode of the Dropship Unlocked podcast.